So we got these grapes from the supermarket, these organic ones. Look at the size of that grape. You can't even focus on it. That's how big it is. Okay, so imagine for 1 second that I'm wearing the same clothes that I was just wearing in that video just there when I was in the studio. I'm pointing in the general direction of the studio. Imagine that. Not the most graceful thing I've ever done. See, the thing is, I was talking about Etsy yesterday. And I'm talking about Etsy today. But the conversation that I had yesterday that you don't get to see was a little confrontational. Now, I've never been one to back away from a confrontation. In fact, it's a critical part of who I am as an individual. But it didn't really need to be confrontational in this particular conversation. So I'm rethinking it, and we're gonna do this again. So in the past, I talked about how I was going to use Etsy to my advantage, because as much as I love the idea of using your own website to sell your work, like I have on DaveConrey.com, I believe it's good to have your work in other markets. I considered doing a couple of different markets. Number 1, Amazon. Number 2, Etsy. Number 3, Saatchi Art. Number 4, Art Finder, and maybe some others. I'm not going to put my work in all of them, but I'm researching them for different reasons. Let me give you an example. At some point, I would like to sell these and some of my other large paintings, but I don't necessarily think Etsy is the best place for that. Could I sell something through Etsy there of this proportion? Sure, but I don't believe that's what people go to Etsy for. They don't go to Etsy to spend thousands of dollars on art. People go to Etsy to spend $100 or $50 or $5 on a card or something. Etsy, to me, is for gifts, small collectibles, things that people will cherish for a long time, but aren't necessarily big price point items. Yes, some stuff gets sold there that way, but it's not the primary function of that marketplace. On the other hand, there's sites like Saatchi and Art Finder and others where you can sell your original art pieces of varying sizes, and that's meant specifically for that purpose. That website is meant specifically for that purpose. What I've decided to do is everything I do, for the most part, everything I do goes onto my website. And then When I go to look at the different marketplaces, I'm going to parse out which ones go where. So the big fine art pieces go to Saatchi, or they go to Art Finder, whichever one I decide to use, and the smaller pieces, $100 or less, those items will go onto Etsy. So that includes prints, that includes small originals, or what other little swag things that I decide to put up there. Anybody want a coffee mug? Now at this very moment, there are some people that are probably laughing at me thinking I'm ridiculous for choosing Etsy. And it's not for the reason you might think. You might think it's because Etsy devalues your work, but you would be wrong. Because that's not necessarily true. Again, the right stuff in the right marketplace. So you put what belongs there and you sell that. Maybe you sell another one, but you sell the stuff that fits there. The problem that some people probably have with me is because they believe that I am a detractor of Etsy, because I have said some things in the past about Etsy and their future that has caused people to believe that I'm an Etsy hater. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. I don't hate Etsy, I don't love Etsy. I use Etsy for a very specific purpose, to sell my stuff. I'm not gonna get emotional about it, I'm not gonna get wrapped up in it. I'm just going to go there to sell work and do the job that I'm there to do. Sometime about last year, I started talking more about Etsy because they had done a few things. They'd made some changes, they'd announced their IPO, they were a publicly traded company, and a lot of things happened, their stock price dived, and I basically went on and told people, look, you wanna be on Etsy? Great, but don't let it be the basket that you hold all your eggs in. Spread those eggs around. Put them in other places. Etsy is not your website. It's somebody else's website, and if you dedicate all your time and energy just to Etsy, you could leave yourself hanging at some point. And that's the last thing in the world I would want anybody to ever do. That being said, I know a lot of people make a lot of money via Etsy, and so go with that. But also, start building something elsewhere, whether it's Etsy, whether it's Amazon, whether it's eBay, whether it's your own website, wherever that might be. Go build something else somewhere else, because you don't want to be caught with your pants down. Now Etsy stock is starting to rise again, and so they're looking pretty solid. They're probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon, but that doesn't mean that their rules might change. The things that they require for you to be a seller there might change. I'm doing work that might not be acceptable to them later on, or they might start letting in people that aren't of the ilk that you want to be associated with. So you may want to start cultivating plans for something new now, so that you're ready when those things potentially could happen. That is my stance on Etsy, and that's where I will leave it at that. But here's one last thought. Etsy's a juggernaut, and I decided to put my stuff there because I have more capability to get my work broad reach there than probably anywhere else in the creative world. Number two is it's September, and next month is October, and then November and December. If you're not familiar with calendars, that's how it works. And if I'm going to be ramping up my business to do more consumables type stuff on Etsy, now is the time. And so here we go. You and me on this journey. You can come along, you can hang out and watch, you can do nothing, I don't care. But I'm going to be here putting more stuff on Etsy, putting more stuff on my website, and putting these things somewhere too. But first, this. Okay, cutting this one short right now because this video is supposed to be out right now. It's actually supposed to have been out before right now, but it's out now because you're seeing it, but you know what I mean. And one last thing, there are a few new people here hanging out, subscribing and watching, so I want to say a big heartfelt thank you to all of you who have subscribed. If you have not subscribed and you're watching this, please go over there, hit that button and subscribe. Or if you're watching this on Facebook, you know, like my page and do that. Also, if you like this video, or any of the videos, go and heart those up like crazy because that's fun to just click, click, click. I really appreciate you folks. Thanks very much. Please do me a favor, if you want to see more of my art, go check it out at daveconrey.com or daveconrey.etsy.com for what's going on there. And also at Dave Conrey for pretty much everywhere else I am on social media, internet stuff. Okay? Hey, thanks a lot. I'll see you guys next time.